look at my page will learn about keeping abreast of the proposed laws. And instead of reading, because I get that people can't read these days, they can't comprehend, can't take it in, obviously. But you can, so Hansard is, I don't think people understand the importance of Hansard. They can quote Hansard in cases as, they can cite Hansard. Now, Hansard is basically when someone brings a proposed bill in, all the MPs get to speak about it, whether they're opposed to it or not. That's Hansard, what they say verbatim. And they don't just have it in the writing. You can watch the videos of each MP speaking to it. So that's Hansard as well. Hansard is and I remember when I was at uni and I was like, what is Hansard? Well, that's what it is. It's when MPs bring a bill in and then everyone has a discussion about it and it's verbatim and it can be quoted in a case. And what he said to that was, him specifically, was just brilliant. Like any layman person off the street, if they were to listen to what he says about that human rights, that bill, they would understand fully the impact to themselves. So that's what it is. I'm trying to encourage people I know to go and look at this stuff before it hits them, before they try and this is it. It's if you look at the proposed bills, then in 2 years' time you're not trying to rally against a law that's been implemented. That's it. Whereas that's all we're doing now is trying to rally against all these laws, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep my eye on what's coming, and trying to figure out in that what's rubbish and what's not. But this is just this is heinous. There's a whole heap of heinous ones in there.
How about the 284 amendments they made to the water bill? They made 284 amendments just before Christmas, and one of the amendments is enforceable restrictions on drinking water, which means that they can fine us for drinking water or choose when we can drink our water or not drink our water.
Surely someone's pulling the mickey here.
No, I always hark back to that
amendments.
I always hark back to that white paper on the World Economic Forum website where they basically spelt it out what they're going to do with it. They spelt it out that where the test case dummy, although that water stuff has happened in America for ages, then in areas they're not allowed to collect rainwater even. That's owned, so, but
neither are we, Maxine. Neither are we. It's buried, but they have already made that law. Yeah. You're not allowed to grow vegetables. They've made these laws already, but they're buried for when they need them.
And that's all those omnibus bills and stuff like that coming through, all those things are in there.
Oh my goodness.
So
a little bit at a time.
So we just so this is on record. I don't know if this will come up, but I've just recorded it. It comes up better on the Zoom, but I don't know if it'll come up, but hopefully it will. But anyway, we'll be able to post it up and people will be able to go and have a look. So what we're looking at today is this this hate speech law, but not only the hate speech law. What we're also looking at is what are we looking at? Oh no, I didn't want to do that. All right, what we're looking at is this 1990 Bill of Rights again. and we have to really understand. I think I'll just go to entire screen. And can you all see that?
Yep.
Right. Is that all right? You can see that, right?
Yeah.
And so this is so the core things, the things that I just want to show about this Bill of Rights Act is that, first of all, it's not really for New Zealanders, for a start. The main point that you see here is in its title, because you've only got to look at its title, and this is what it says. It is an act to affirm, protect, and promote human rights and fundamental freedoms in New Zealand, and to affirm New Zealand's commitment to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So it's not really a constitutional law right then and there, because it's only an affirmation. It's just an affirmation that they are committed to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, to always be aware of it in Parliament, and to affirm and protect and promote human rights and fundamental freedoms. But mostly it's for the international laws. It may be cited as the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act, and that this act comes into force after the royal assent. Now, what some people have just been saying is that what the problem is that they send these bills and acts to, they get the royal assent, but after the royal assent has been made, they're making many amendments to change what the original intention of the assent was. And so the people are realizing that, but if nobody goes to the court and calls it to the attention, if nobody complains about it, then they can make any amendments that they like. And so that's what the problem is that it's sad that New Zealand people have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to study laws that they don't understand, when that is what we pay Parliament to do. We don't pay Parliament to make laws for the international community. We pay Parliament to make laws to protect the people of New Zealand against the international community, and then the international community is secondary, should be secondary to us. You take care of your own country first, and then if there's anything spare, you share that around with a few other people. And so I will just quickly mention in this in today is, when somebody new comes to New Zealand, they're not bound to go to war for New Zealand. It takes 2 or 3 generations, and you need to be born of both parents before you're bound to go to war to New Zealand. So the people should get the most rights, because who should get the most rights? Who should get the most protections? Well, that is the deal was in the ancient times, is that if you fought for the land, then you were the one that got to decide the direction of where the land would go and what was the policies of the land. So if people that are newly coming to New Zealand don't have to go to war, but there are people that are in New Zealand that are bound to go to the war for the country of New Zealand, then they should be placed above all else, because it's them that, if they refuse to go to war, so New Zealand, if they're sending people off to Ukraine to fight in Ukraine, they're forced to do that, and if they decide not to do that, they will lose their job in the army. Now, their job in the army was supposed to protect New Zealand, not to go and fight other people's wars. And they're being used nefariously to fight other people's wars. And if they refuse to fight, then they lose their job, and they're no longer in a position where they can protect New Zealand, which is what their goal is when they join the army. And if anybody in New Zealand, that's including me, is born to New Zealand of 2 New Zealand parents and 4 New Zealand grandparents, whether we like it or not, by our birth, We can be forced to come back to New Zealand and fight to New Zealand at any time in our entire lives. This is not the case for the people that turn up in New Zealand just last week and have got a residency visa and are also even get citizenship. Even if they get their citizenship, when the chips are down and our country is against their country, they can up and leave New Zealand and fight against us, and indeed plan against us and conspire against us. So these rights here should be secondary to what our rights should be as New Zealand people, New Zealand-born people. The Act may be cited as the New Zealand Bill of Rights. The rights and freedoms contained in this Bill of Rights are affirmed. Now, I don't know what that means. They're just affirmed. So I don't think that, it's not made by declaration or anything like that. This Bill of Rights, have a listen. This is the important one. This Bill of Rights applies only to acts done by the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branches of the government of New Zealand, or by any person or body in the performance of a public function, a power, or a duty conferred or imposed on that person or body pursuant to law. So these people are people that work for the government officers. So this is not applying to you, the people of New Zealand. It applies to all people that work in government offices and working as government employees. Now, that might be why they're putting all the Maoris into all the government jobs, because they have attached on a lot of these parasites onto our New Zealand Maori. And I don't know where I'm going with that thought, but I'm just saying that that is one of the things they're doing, is putting all New Zealand Maori into these positions of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of the government, and into all the public functions and all the powers. And so that means that all New Zealand Maori that are in those positions are bound to this law. That's what I was trying to say. And they're bound to enforce these laws for the new people that are coming in to New Zealand. So, which is kind of against our New Zealand Maori and their autonomy as a people and as a separate government body in their own right, which they've always had since the very beginning. They've been a separate body of government in their own right to take care of their own people and make decisions about New Zealand as a country and as in regards to their own people. They've always had that power. But once a New Zealand Maori goes into any of these positions, they no longer have that autonomy. That's just come to me now as a thought to think about. So they are then bound by this, where they were not bound by it before, I suppose. Then we've got here the other enactments are not affected. No court shall, in relation to any enactment, whether passed or made before or after the commencement of this bill, shall hold any provision of the enactment to be impliedly repealed or revoked, or to be in any way invalid or ineffective, or to decline to apply any provision of the enactment by reason only that the provision is inconsistent with any provision of this Bill of Rights. I've always had a bit of trouble understanding this. So that no court is allowed to decline any provision of the, it says before or after the commencement, they are not in any position to decline to apply any provision by reason only that the provision is inconsistent with any provision of this Bill of Rights. So it's basically saying they're not permitted to decline any enactment, any act, just only on the basis that it is inconsistent with this Bill of Rights. So if you've got an Act of Parliament of New Zealand, to my understanding, you've got an Act of Parliament in New Zealand, and then it's found to be inconsistent with this Bill of Rights, then the Act of New Zealand is the overall act that the judge must stay with, and he cannot decline such act. So that's just saying, but so that's just saying that no, this Bill of Rights does not override any provision or any act of New Zealand. It cannot override any act of New Zealand. That's what it says here. And then it goes down to the justified limitations, which is subjected to Section 4. The rights and freedoms contained in this Bill of Rights may be subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. So, but you'll see here, what it says here is that you can see here that when they talk about it in the other enactments are not affected by this Bill of Rights, you can see that it clearly says here, this Bill of Rights. And then you'll see here that it will say again, this Bill of Rights. And then it will say again in the justified limitations, this Bill of Rights here. All right, so you know that it's talking about this act. And it says here in 3 sections that this section applies to all government officials. And then it says that no other acts in New Zealand will be made, will be declined or revoked or repealed or invalid in any way if the reason only is that it's inconsistent with this Bill of Rights. And then it goes on to say that there is a justified limitations in this Bill of Rights, but that those justified limitations will be subject only to reasonable limits prescribed by law that can be demonstratively justified. So if they say we want to cut the baby's foreskins off and suck the blood of the baby's penis in our religious beliefs, that might be demonstrated as a justified limit because of the dangers to the child. However, if someone says, well, I want to have my prayers 5 times a day, and I want to have a prayer room to be able to do that, they might be able to say, well, yes, you're allowed to have that, because they can't justify why they wouldn't be allowed to have that. Why? What would be the hurt to anybody for them to be allowed to do that? So that's where they've put 2. Here they've put here in section 4 and 5, they've put in 2 rights here. One right is for the protection of the New Zealand people and the New Zealand laws, in my understanding. And one right is a protection for them, that the people of New Zealand and the Parliament of New Zealand do not overstep that ability to go and make laws that are going to be not nice for all of them as well. So they have to consider all things, which is nice. But the last one, number 6, is the kicker. The interpretation consistent with Bill of Rights to be preferred. Whenever an enactment can be given meaning that is consistent with the rights and freedoms contained in this Bill of Rights, that meaning shall be preferred to any other meaning. Now, you've got to be careful here because it looks to me like they're talking about 2 bills of rights here. So, because that one's saying the interpretation should be consistent with Bill of Rights to be preferred. Well, that would come under the cruel and unusual punishments, rights to free speech, all of those kinds of things would come under there. And so it's only saying that they should be prefer to be consistent with that Bill of Rights. But they've gone on to say when an enactment can be given a meaning that is consistent with this Bill of Rights, then that meaning shall be preferred to any other meaning. So I'm not quite sure. Any thoughts on that there, Maxine or Jody?
It's still ticking over. It seems like it, as you say, it's a different set of rules for just this particular Bill of Rights. I don't know.
That's right. So if the interpretation was consistent with our 1688 Bill of Rights, which we know that's the paramount law, and then you go down and look at our rights, which aren't many. These are the only rights that we get here. And we get some rights are down here. So these are our rights here. And these are absolute. So and then the frequent parliaments. And then we're supposed to have the right to petition to the parliament. We're supposed to have that right, the right to petition.
So is this Bill of Rights that you're showing at the moment, Kate? Is that for sort of everyone else that's perhaps here and applied to them to compensate for their, I don't know, religious rules and things? I get confused with
all people on the earth are protected by this, all people in every country. But there are certain laws in here that apply to each country in their own country. One of the greatest laws is the right that I do declare that no foreign prince, person, prelate, potentate, or anyone ought to have any jurisdiction, power, superiority, preeminence, authority, ecclesiastical or spiritual within this realm. So if you were in Saudi Arabia, that would apply to Saudi Arabia. And if you were in China, that would apply to China. And if you're in New Zealand, that would apply to New Zealand. And it seems like a fair law. But what they're complaining about is that they're bringing all these immigrants in and they're saying that they've got no political rights because of this law here. So and another thing is that in our country, we have the right to free speech, but in their countries, to speak against their religion is a crime. And the penalty is decapitation and various other things like that. So rather than them coming to our country, just in my limited view, rather than them coming to our country and accepting that this is one of our rights and you just have to put up with what people say to you, in order to keep your right to free speech. We just put up with it. They would rather that they came in and they want to prevent us from having this right in certain circumstances, especially in regards to their religion. So that's why you can criticize the Christian religion, because the Christian religion does not have any penalty for speaking against their church or their religion, because they're like, well, that's up to you because it's free will.
Mm.
So but whereas some of the other religions do not have this right, you see, but they want freedom of speech, but they want a restricted freedom of speech. They want,
No.
yeah,
You come here, you get the full Monty of full freedom of speech.
and they
Our Bill
want,
of Rights.
exactly, and they want to have this law in their own countries, but they
Well, if
don't
they
want to have
do-
it in ours. So that all comes under, and then this levying of money. See, this levying of money is taking our taxpayer money and giving it to specific groups that are not privy to that money. They feel that when they come to our country and they work and they get taxes, that those taxes should go to their people to support their people in our country and their people over in their countries. So these are the laws that they're having a problem with. And so going back to their one, let's just down here. So that they came up with this one. Well, ours had the cruel and unusual punishment, which depends on how you define that. So we would think, so it's no offense to the Jewish people, but I use this one, but it's just the easiest one that comes to mind, but there are many. So in the Jewish religion, they want their higher up rabbis or whatever to cut the foreskin of the baby, suck the blood, and that is part of their religion. But over in America, they're allowed to do that, and the babies were getting brain herpes in the brain and all of that because of the rabbis were diseased in the mouth. So in our country, that would come under a cruel punishment. So to us, that's the same as cutting the female genitalia. To us, that would be a cruel punishment to females. But to them, that is something they absolutely feel that they absolutely must have that freedom for their people to be able to ascend to God and part of their religion.
Yeah, but yeah, it's all well and good. But if they want to come to a Christian country,
Well, that's what I'm saying, yes. So that's
you've
what I'm
got your
saying.
country that allows those laws, and if you want them, you stick in that country, wouldn't you?
I think so too. I think we've got a few Asian countries, we've got a few Protestant countries, we've got a few Catholic countries, we've got a few Islamic countries, and we need something for everybody. But there are certain people in those religions that each of those religions believes that the whole world under God should only be that religion, because they all think that theirs is the right one. So, but anyway, so then it says here.
Can I jump in?
Yes, dear.
As I was talking about Hansard before, so what we need to do possibly is to go back and look at all the writings around the time that the 1990 was being put through Parliament. I found one thing, and it's a write-up by J. McGrath, QC Solicitor General, and it's the Bill of Rights in the legislative process. And it talks to Section 7, which is what we're talking about, is it? So what I'm saying is to find out what they meant with the interpretation of these sections is we possibly need to go and read the writings around that time about the interpretations, or what the extent of the interpretations of each of those sections, because there would be a lot of them.
So this is a very important thing. We're going to get
Right.
over to there in a minute. When we get over here, what Maxine is talking about is this Hansard, but I don't want to go there just yet because I just want to show this. And when we get there, Maxine's saying, what she's saying is that if you go here to this Hansard, correct me if I'm wrong, this is all the discussions about what they were discussing before they made that law, and it shows the intention of what the law was in the first place. And Maxine has just found out that that can actually be used in a court of law. You don't have to only use the act, you can use also their intention. Is that right, Maxine?
Yeah, but there was also papers written after that as well, by actual papers written about the interpretation of those, because they came up. There was a couple of cases that came up after it, and they had to have a discussion about where that fit in those sections. So we possibly need to go back, because we're sitting here trying to decide amongst ourselves
Yeah, I see
what
what you mean.
the intention, and yet there are papers we can go and look at to see what their intention
Intentions
was.
were.
That's certainly right, because what Maxine is saying is that why are we sitting here looking at this when we can go and look at the other one and find out what the intention was rather than trying to discuss it. But at the same time, in saying that, the train is moving very fast, and so Maxine's just found out that, and I've just found out that from her, and so I didn't even know that. And so the train's moving very fast, and we've got to kind of move as fast as we can as well, and go and look at all that. So that's a new thing that we need to be doing. But anyway, we're just looking at it. So the interpretation consistent with the Bill of Rights is to be preferred. Now, Maxine is right. If we went and looked at that Hansard, we might be able to figure out, but they're very deceptive, but they use these two Bill of Rights and this Bill of Rights, they use them interconnectedly, and that's the deception. It's a pretended title of the Crown. If ever there was a pretended title of the Crown, that's a pretended title of the Crown, because it cannot stand by itself without the Bill of Rights. It simply can't. So whenever the enactment can be given a meaning that is consistent with the rights and freedoms contained in this, so I'm thinking that all enactments come from the Bill of Rights, 1688, and then if it can be found to be consistent with the rights that are contained in this bill, then this bill would be preferred over any other meaning. So they have to look at, but they never can go above this one. But this Bill of Rights would overrule some enactments, I suppose. I'm not quite sure. We'd have to go and have a look. But anyway, you look at that, what they've got there, but I want you to look at Section 3, where it applies to all government workers and all government bodies. So it's not really applying to you as a person. Presently, it doesn't apply to you as a person. So it's only applying to them, but...
So what you're saying is the Bill of Rights Act 1990 doesn't apply to us as the people, it applies to government workers.
Yes, because you can see down here, it says here in
Workers'
Section 28, other rights and freedoms are not affected. An existing right or freedom shall not be held to be abrogated, restricted by reason only that the right or freedom is not included in this Bill of Rights or is included only in part. So if we go and look at our freedom of speech, they really cannot restrict that in any way, shape, or form. And so, but they can restrict it for government workers, but not for us. So, because they can restrict it for government workers if they so choose to, which if it is, so in Parliament, they're not allowed to speak against those things. But just because they're not allowed to speak against those things doesn't mean that they should be promoting those religions in New Zealand, which is a Protestant country. Now just remember this section 3 here, right? And then we go over to here, and you'll see here, read the bill, all right? So you go to you can see read the bill here, and what it says here, explanatory note. So that it says, the Human Rights Act, which is the principal act, aims to provide better protection of human rights. They use this place Aotearoa, which we don't know where this place is. We think it's a parasitic entity, and we believe that the United Nations has settled themselves on here. So this is the parasite that can't stand by itself, so they have attached it onto here. In general accordance with the United Nations conventions, covenants or conventions on human rights, the bill aims to improve protections for faith-based groups under the provision of the Principal Act that makes speech that is likely to excite hostility unlawful. The harmful effects of this type of hateful speech on faith-based groups and society as a whole are well documented. The Royal Commission of Inquiry into the terrorist attack recommended that religious belief be included in the criminal provision in the Principal Act. To achieve its objective, the bill extends the coverage in the civil and criminal provisions and cover speech that is likely to excite hostility. Section 61 and 1 respectively, beyond colour, race, and ethnic and national origin. So this used to apply to colour, race, and ethnic and national origins you weren't allowed to speak against. All right? So the bill includes religious belief in those provisions, which is one of the prohibited grounds of discrimination listed in Section 21 of the Principal Act. So we go and look at Section 21. So Section 21 just starts, I don't know where is Section 21, it has disappeared. There should actually be a Section 21, but as you see here, there is, does it start like that? It should, see how it should start with the Section 20, and then there should be a 20A, then there's a 20B. But you see here, Section 21 is not there. So that could be, so it says here the application of part to persons and bodies referred to in Section 3 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights, heading inserted on the 1st of January 2002 by Section 7 of the Human Rights Amendment. And then this were inserted into it, the application limited in Section 3, if it applies, the only provisions of this part that apply to an act or omission of a personal body described in how the fuck do we read these laws? Are sections 21 to 35, which relate to discrimination in employment matters.
21 is down. It's after 21B.
All right, we're going to have a look in a
Okay.
minute. So,
Prohibited grounds of discrimination is 21.
oh, here it is. So these are the prohibited grounds of discrimination. Sex, marital status, religious belief, ethical belief, which means the lack of religious belief, colour, race, ethnic national origins, which includes nationality or citizenship, disability, the presence in the body of organisms like AIDS and all of that stuff. They're not allowed to talk about any of those things. For the purposes of sections 22 to 41, and in relation to different treatment based on age that occurs in the period beginning and ending, any age commencing with the age of 16 and ending with the date on which the person's of age is to qualify for national super, irrespective of whether or not the particular persons qualify for national superannuation. So they're not allowed to, for purposes of 22, based on age that occurs. So each of the grounds specified in subsection 1 is prohibited ground of discrimination. For the purposes of this act, it pertains to a person or to a relative or associate of a person, and it either currently exists or has in the past existed, which means that you cannot speak badly about people or religions of the past, is suspected or assumed or believed to exist. So they only have to assume or believe or suspect or to have existed by the person alleged to have discriminated. So they only have to suspect you or assume that you or believe that you discriminated against them for that to be a crime. So, but it does say in regards, so this is all for employment purposes. So this all is talking about the employment. This isn't employment rights. This is not your rights of your country, but an employment. And an exception in relation to work involving national security. Section 22 shall apply to restrictions in employment on any work involved in the national security of New Zealand based on religious, ethical, political, disability, family status, national origin of any relative of that person. It shall not be a breach to decline to employ a person under the 20. Oh, it says it's not a breach to decline them if they are under the age of 20 years. So there's quite a lot in here. But, so now it says here, so 21 to 35, so it goes here, you just click on here, and then that's got all of the things down here. And then these are all the workers' rights that they have. Hey?
I was just being facetious. I was going to say something. Don't worry.
You might get yourself in prison.
Yeah, might get myself in strife.
So that's what this is doing. We can't even talk about the things that we disagree with. We're not allowed to. Well, we are.
No, I'll do it in private. I'll talk to you. I'll say it in private though.
So section 21 is in relation to employment matters. And section 61 to 64 is in relation to the racial disharmony. It will be unlawful to publish or distribute threatening. Well, you see, they've got insulting. define insulting. So I could call you I mean, no offence to anyone here, but I could call you a fat pig, or I could call you an ugly sod, or something. That would be insulting. That would be illegal. And I could go to prison. But I mean, New Zealanders talk like that all the time. We'll all end up in prison because we all talk like
So
that.
do Aussies.
So do Aussies. Yeah, so do the English.
I mean,
We're like, you fuck off, you tosser.
I grew up as being called brown eye. I mean,
Well,
you know what a brown eye is.
I was called witchy, and yeah, the wicked,
Wigwog.
Kate Floss, the Wicked Witch of the West, I was called, and they used to give me brooms. So
Fond memory.
So that's to be brought, if it or to broadcast anything that is insulting. So I'm all for the abuse. I don't even know if I'm with the abusive. I'm certainly with the threatening one. I don't know about insulting, but anyway. So
I
that's
get called puppy hair all the time. That's insulting.
That's insulting. Not allowed to use that anymore.
Yeah, puppy hair it's not a good word.
No, it is.
It used to be.
No, not if you look it up in the dictionary. It's not very nice.
Never mind the dictionary.
They changed its meaning.
I actually found a piece back in the 1800s. It's not derogatory. And my father said too. It wasn't derogatory, but they've made it.
They've made it. That's exactly
yeah.
right. Yeah, they have, and I will vouch for that because we don't have time to show you all the documents, but there are several documents that say that it was a very esteemed word originally.
It's the fact that we have to go back to history and prove these things is just out the gate. You know, they've taken the language and just screwed it.
So yes, that's
like
right.
All our language, English and everything, they just screwed they're screwing the language.
Well, that's
They're
just
screwing everything.
it's been deliberate. So 66 is about victimization of a whistleblower or a person making use of rights. So to threaten to treat another person less valuable in the same because they intend to make or has made a use of this act, has encouraged. So if they go and use the act, you're not allowed to go against that. So that all comes under this here. But the main thing is that the application of part to persons and bodies referred to in section 3 of the inserted section 7, the application of this part is limited if section 3 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act applies. So you go to section 3 and then that just means that it applies to acts done by them and so that would come under being limited. So it's limited if it applies to any of these government workers because that would come under the justified limitations here. And it would also come under the other rights. So it's a worker's right, really. It's just a worker's right that we have to uphold to those people that are coming to work within New Zealand. But this new one that they're doing is very different. So they're saying that, where did we get up to on here? The bill extends the coverage in the civil and criminal provisions that cover speech that is likely to excite hostility under sections 61 to 131. Beyond race, colour, the bill includes religious belief in those provisions, which is one of the prohibited grounds of discrimination in section 21. The proposed change to sections 61 and 131 would provide better protection for faith-based groups who are experiencing harm from inciting speech. The charge would enable remedies hang on. So let's just look at section 61 and 131. So God, they've given themselves a lot of rights, haven't they? It's unlawful for the person to publish or distribute any insulting materials. Right. And then 131, this is inciting. It's every person commits an offence and is liable to imprisonment for 3 months or a fine not exceed who with intent to excite hostility or ill will against or bring contempt or ridicule any group of persons in New Zealand on the ground of colour, race, ethnic or national. So they've already got this law, but it doesn't have religion in it. It's got colour, race, ethnic, national origins. So that is, we've already got this law, and it's already a 3-month prison sentence or a $7,000 fine for anybody that incites any hostility or any ill will against people for those reasons. But so we've already got the law. But what the departmental disclosure is required to prepare a disclosure to assist with the scrutiny of this bill. The disclosure statement provides access to information about the policy development and identifies significant or unusual legislative features. It's got a regulatory, a SARS report, and the amendments to Part 2 they're saying it makes a minor technical amendment to Section 21A. 1A, the amendment updates the existing reference to 61 to reflect the repeal of Section 64 and the insertion of Section 63A, which makes Section 21A more comprehensible and aligns it with Section 21A 1B by removing the text stating what each of the cross sections relates to. Clause 5 amends Section 61, which makes it unlawful for anyone to publish, distribute, or use threatening or abusive or insulting written that is likely to excite hostility or to bring contempt under colour, race, ethnic, or so you're not allowed to talk about anybody of colour or about their race or about their ethnic or national origins, and now they're going to add their religious belief. And religious belief is an existing prohibited ground of discrimination under Section 21. So if you go to Section it's hard to remember all this stuff. I have to go back and watch the video. So under Section 1, ethical belief, which means the lack, religious belief is part of section 21, but it is not part of section 61 and part of section 131. And so they want to add religion to section 61 and section 131. That's what they want to do. And so they want to, so they want to include in here, where did it say unlawful? Is it got the list here, Maxine? Where did I just see the list of the colour here? So it's got here colour, race, ethnic, national origins. It's already here, but they haven't got religion in there. And then 131, which is 131 is the one where they want to add religion, and it's 131 that has the 3 months and the $7,000 fine. And every person is liable on conviction for a term who with intent to excite hostility or ill will against or bring into contempt or to ridicule any group of persons. You can't criticize anyone. It's illegal to criticize anyone, and you will go to jail for it. But you have to be able to criticize people because of the people do in their groups get up to no good. Publishers, if you publish anything that is considered to be insulting,
So basically, a difference of opinion is going to be classified under this.
Yeah.
You may have an opinion.
It's not going to be because it already is.
We're bloody robots.
No,
that's it.
It already has been made law, but they just want to insert religion into it because of the Muslims and the Jewish people that have risen up through the ranks and have filled our parliament and filled our police force and filled our everywhere. They want to add that in as religion because all the other countries, like for example the hijab, they don't want the hijab in their parliaments or in their schools. Well, that would be illegal to speak against that. So that's what they're bringing in because they've already got the police hijab ready because they've got the New Zealand police hijab. See, they've already got the hijab ready. So here is the new police. This is going to be the new New Zealand police uniform. And so this is what we've got to look forward to in our country. And so these are the new New Zealand police that you've got to look forward to. So they could even make a law that all New Zealand police have to wear this. And if they do that, you'll all have to wear it. And for you to speak against that is a 3-month, well, this is over in England, it's a 3-month prison sentence And not only is it a 3-month, it's a 7-year jail fine. So that's what
Yeah, but they couldn't do that, could they? Because that's speaking against your religion,
well, that's what I'm saying,
a
because
Protestant religion. They can't bring that into law because that's against our Protestant religions and ways.
well, it is, and yes, exactly right. So they've said if any person uses any public place or within the hearing of a person in any such public place or at any meeting to which the public are invited or have access, words which are threatening, abusive. I don't mind the threatening. I think that's fine. But what is an insult? What do they deem to be insulting? It's arbitrary. What is insulting to people? Call me fat all the time. I've got huge fat legs and they're hairy. I've got huge fat hairy dimpled legs, and people say to me all the time, geez, Kate Floss, you need to go on a diet and get your legs sorted out. And I'm like, it doesn't insult me, but another person could be insulted.
How can that be classified as an insult when it's a truth?
Well, you see, that's what I'm saying, Jody. Yes, exactly. If it's the truth, it depends. I could say to one person, "Oh, you're black as the ace of spades," and one person who knows that they are and doesn't mind, they're going to be fine. But another one is going to be feeling insulted, and you get a prison
Bruce New hate speech.
term. There's
Truth is hate speech now.
Truth is hate speech. There it is. There's the whole thing about it. No one wants you to speak the truth.
There is no penalty that the judge can give. So the judge can't give probation. He can't give any other judgment except you automatically get 3 months in jail or a $7,000 fine. That's automatic on first offence, first time that you do it. This is already the law, but they're going to bring in religion, and that's going to make it very, very hard to protect our Protestant country. And so, because we are a Protestant country, and
well, that's disarming us, isn't it?
It is, because that is subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defence. Now, arms for their defence is doesn't have to be
law.
The arms can be law. It doesn't have to be a gun. And part of the arms of our defence is that we're allowed to go to the court, because this law is discriminatory, because it does say that the Catholics is basically so repugnant, because it says in here that Catholics and other religions, it says it here, no prelate, state potentate, no preeminence or authority or any ecclesiastical authorities can have any power over us. And it talks about the indemnable doctrine of the Pope of Rome. And you see, so it's repugnant to the New Zealand law, because right then and there, this New Zealand law should put the entire country of New Zealand into the prison or pay $7,000, because we've got this law in our country. So how can you have this law here, right? And then it's also got papers debarred from the Crown. How can you have this law here and then have this law here?
Well, we know
if you add religion, if you add religion to it, actually, it's just come up to me how we're going to fight this. It's already there. Someone will probably grab it from us. But if you add religion to this, it basically means that we are committing a crime against ourselves, our own country, by having this law. You can't, I've just realised
It's treason.
that's impossible for them to have. It is absolutely impossible for them to add religion to this law and for us to have this law over here. It's impossible.
And we know which one stands because it was first in time.
And so we've just found our answer by doing this video. So they want to add religious to belief to it as if that's some small thing. They're like saying, hey, don't worry about it. We've already got race. We've already got colour. We'll just throw in this religion bit and it's not going to have any meaning. But you know what? It does.
It does.
It's huge because our 1688 is repugnant to it completely. And so that's exactly the reason why they never had religion included in this act. That is exactly why. And now I know. Thank you, everyone, for joining me to help me to clear that up in my mind. So it says, Clause 5 just adds religious belief is an existing prohibited ground. And then they're going to, Clause 6 and 7 amend Section 130 and the Part 6 heading. The amendments are consequential to the amendments to Section 131, Clause 8. So 131, I don't know. There is to be no prosecution without the Attorney General's consent. Now, the recent case of Fitzgerald R. with the 3 strikes you're out, where they said, oh, people that have just committed a minor crime on their 3rd strike will get 7,000. Will get put into the prison, even though they only committed a minor crime under the 3 strikes. But what ended up happening in there was that they were warned that this would happen, and Parliament passed over it and made the law anyway. And 10 years later, a man called Daniel Fitzgerald ended up getting put in the prison for 7 years or something. He got the 3 strikes you're out, and he ended up getting put into prison for 7 years or something like that. And he just recently won his case, and because he went into the prison for 7 years for kissing a woman in the street 3 times. 3 different women, he kissed them on the cheek in the street 3 times, 3 different women, because he had a mental health issue, and he got put in the prison for many, many years. He sat in the prison, and then he fought it, and he got out, and the people of New Zealand had to pay him compensation of around $450,000. And it was exactly this law that you had to go, in order to get the 3 strikes, you had to go through the Attorney General. And so people are going to be put in prison for saying, oh, your face is looking dark today, or why are you wearing that hijab? Because we don't have hijabs in New Zealand. If you were to say that, that would be an automatic, sorry to the hijab people, I'm just using you as an example, but I don't mean anything by it. But that would get you an imprisonment of 3 months or a fine of $7,000 under the religion. And it would have to pass through the Attorney General. But as that happened with Daniel Fitzgerald, they ended up repealing the law. They were told that it was a heinous law and that people would be going to prison for very, very minor crimes, and they let the law pass anyway. He did end up going to prison. We did end up having to pay $450,000 to him, plus hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and all of that. That didn't include all the legal fees and all of that. And then the law was repealed, and nobody's been held accountable. So this is no different. So we'll have to get into the select committee and talk about this. So they want to amend section 130. That just they want to add religion to all of these. Every single one of them. Clause 8 adds religious belief as an existing prohibited right. So you're not allowed to talk about their religious beliefs. Criminal proceedings will continue as if the principal act had not been amended. So that's about the guts of what this is. Submissions are now being accepted. Everyone will show everybody how you make your submission. Now, this is this is being done by Kiri Tapu, Alan, and let's see. The first reading was on the 13th of December. You can go the Hansard. You can go to the Hansard, and as I'm not going to read this, but you can go and read it yourself. These are all the discussions about what this law is about and what their intention is of this law. We've got Golritz Garaman.
Videos as well.
Eh?
They can go and watch the videos.
Oh, and Maxine said there's actually videos of them
So if you
speaking.
go up to where Hansard is, that word, then you move along to the right, you'll see videos.
Oh, look, there's video here. So you can go to video, and then that's got all the videos. Oh.
Well, you go back to that specific bill that we were looking at, and then you go down.
Yeah, you can go through here, or you can go to that specific bill. So, that's this page. This video displays all the video of what they did on that sitting day. And what they did is in one day, they passed dozens upon dozens upon dozens of bills. And you've got to go and watch the videos on all of them. And I did put in my court paper that this is a psychological waterboarding of the New Zealand public using the law. So psychological waterboarding of the people using the law. But the people that were involved were Chris Pink, Raving On, Ginny Anderson, Simon O'Connor, Soraya Pecky Mason, Golritz Gary Man, David Seymour, Willow Jean Prime, Nicola Grigg, Nazy Chen, Tangi Utikeri, Chris Bishop, Arena Williams, and the ayes to pass the bill are 76, and the noes are 43. So you've already lost.
But I wonder how many know of our true bill of 1688 Bill of Rights.
All of these people know about it.
I bet they don't understand half of them about our constitutional law.
No, I think that they do, and I think that they're determined to get rid of it. I think that they well understand, and their goal is and always has been to get rid of the protections around New Zealand. New Zealand and Zealandia is it's the last continent that is available for snapping up. All the continents and all the countries have been discovered, and it's just a matter of fighting amongst each other to see who gets what. But Zealandia has only recently been mapped, and everybody's on a scramble to get it. They all want Zealandia, and the thing that's getting in their way is this here. And they're out to get rid of it. They're picking it off piece by piece, bit by bit. But to add religion, now they're very sneaky bastards. To add religion, it's very, very bad, because to add religion absolutely decimates our 1688 Will and Mary Protestant protections, because this is all about discrimination against certain leaders being allowed to govern over us based on their religious beliefs. It's never been about race. There's never been anything in here about race. It does have no foreign persons can govern over you. That is only if they're born to another country, but who did that?
What happened there?
There's an echo.
Hello?
Somebody's double opened. Somebody's opened up. It might even be me. I don't think it's me.
Kate, you've gone a bit weird in your voice. Something's changed in this video call. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me speak twice?
No, it's just like you're far, far away. And a big relay.
Maxine, you've got speaking twice too. Jody doesn't. You've opened up another thing.
Who?
Maxine. Turn off all your things at the top of your screen, all your messengers, or Facebook. Brent, you speak.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, you've got an echo too. Jody, you speak.
I'm just wondering if it's still delayed.
No, you're not.
Jody doesn't double. We're all doubling except for Jody. They're suspicious. Must be you, Jody.
That's weird.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah.
Turn off any Facebook things at the top.
I hadn't touched anything and then it just all changed all of a sudden.
I'm going to go out and come back.
You are.
Right now. No.
That sounds better.
No. It's doubled.
It's got to be
I'll
Jody.
go out. I'll go out.
Now it's it? It's her.
No.
Oh, my goodness me.
Hello.
I'm back.
Yeah. All right. It was you.
It was me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, someone's watching me.
Never mind. That's all right. Right. So, Oh, Sharon, you're so late, mate.
Of course I
Right, so where are we got to? So there, so 76 people have already said yes to it. To Patty Maori, Green Party, and Labor. Nationals against it, and ACT's against it, but that always happens. Labor always gets their 64, and nobody can win against them anyway. So they've all agreed to have it. So this is a very, so what you can do is, for this one, if you, here it goes here, you look in, it says submissions are now being accepted. So you go to make a submission, and it says the closing for submission is on the 2nd of February. So we've got lots of time. Have your say on the human rights. The Justice Committee is calling for submissions on the human rights. The bill aims to improve protections of the faith-based group under the provisions of the Human Rights Act, which makes speech that is likely to incite hostility unlawful. This bill is available online, and the submissions are publicly released and published to the parliamentary website. Only your name. So then all you do, so you can click here for your legislation if you want, or you can click here to get your bill. You go here to I am ready to make a submission. You go in there, right? And then you say your details, your submission, making the submission. So I'm submitting as an individual or on behalf of an organisation. Do you wish to make an oral submission? Yes. As an individual, and then yes. Then you go to next, and it'll all come up for you on there what you need to do. I suppose I could just click on it, wouldn't matter, would it? So then you just go to as an individual, and then you say yes, I want to make an oral submission. Then you go to here, you put in your bits and pieces. Is there anything about your submission that the committee members should know? And so you have to put in all this, and then you put in yes, and you can ask them if you want to have a group submission, or if you want to have it, whatever you want to do, you can put it on there. Okay? So there's going to be a lot of people doing this, because what I've found is that that what they do, what these groups have been doing is flooding the parliament with hundreds and hundreds of submissions so that your submission is not heard. So what happens is that they keep an eye. This is more psychological waterboarding. What happens is they keep an eye on who's making submissions, and when anybody makes a submission of significance, they waterboard the parliament with dozens upon dozens upon dozens of submissions in favour of their cause, and your submission gets lost in it. So that what we have to keep an eye on that, because I noticed some of the bills, when I went and looked at the bills, you would see these submissions by certain ethnic groups or certain religious groups, and there would just be like 100 submissions, and you knew by all of their names that they were all of the same group. And so they're blocking out New Zealanders from having a say in their parliament. I don't know what we're going to be doing about that, but what I think I will do is that I will, we really have to keep an eye. We've got to the 2nd of February, so there's no great hurry. I'll sit down and plan it out, what I'm going to be saying, and each of you can sit down if you want to, and you can either, remember we did the last one that we all went in, but we recorded with all of us, but when it actually came up on the video in the Parliament, we didn't see everybody. The only one that you saw was me. So I don't know why that occurs. So you might want to look at the one that I'm going to be submitting, and just come on in with me again, like that last time, or or you might like to take certain aspects of the one that I'm going to do, and then you can take that and just copy and paste it and do it exactly as you want to do it. Or you might take that and add some bits to it, as long as the bits that you add to it, if you're going to take mine and add to it, then you shouldn't add. You all must know me by now. So if you want to add things to it that you don't think that I would be, wanting to be supportive of, then you have to leave my bit out and just go and do it on your own, in your own. Don't take my stuff and add stuff that I don't like onto it. And you pretty much know things I don't like. So you can do. There's many ways that you can do it, or you can, of course, just go and write up whatever you want and just do something on your own if that's what you want. Now, what is the mainstay? Sharon's just come in. The mainstay, Sharon, of this bill is the new hate speech bill. And I'll just do a little bit for a quick review for Sharon, so Sharon knows what this is about, and for other viewers, that some viewers, not everybody picks up on this stuff quickly. Some people are a bit slower, or they can't read. And so they do need to be just told a couple, and it's pretty confusing. And so I'll just let Sharon know a little bit again. So this is the incitement, Sharon, but it's just mostly talking about the Human Rights Act. I'll share screen for you, Sharon. And I'll go here. So the Human Rights Act here, what you'll see here is that it says every person commits offence and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a month not exceeding 3 months, for a term not exceeding 3 months, or a fine of $7,000 if they incite hostility or even ill will against, or brings even contempt or even any ridicule of any group of persons, if it's because of their colour, their race, their ethnic or their national origins of that group of person. And one of the things is that if you insult them, and they've got the group of people, which is colour, race, ethnic, national origins here. I don't mind the threatening one, Sharon, but I'm opposed to the insulting one, because what is insulting to me is not insulting to you. And we do call each other silly twats. And we do use a lot of language like that as a natural part of our New Zealand speech. We've always behaved like that because because we've always felt good about ourselves. And words have never hurt us because we feel good about ourselves. And so we're pretty tough people. So you've got to be tough. If you're not tough, then don't come and live in New Zealand if you're worried about someone saying that you've got a wart on your face. Well, it's no good coming to New Zealand. But what we've been saying, Sharon, is that this law is already part of the law already, but it doesn't include religion. And so they want to add religion to here, colour, race, ethnic and national origins, and religion and religious beliefs. And we've said that this is a problem because that would be repugnant to our supremacy law that says that no foreigners or ecclesiastical or spiritual or any of those people have any right to have any power. And it speaks against, it says, I abhor, detest, and abjure as impious and heretical the princes excommunicated or deprived by the Pope. Right, let me tell you about this law. I'll tell you what this law means. A lot of people don't understand this. It says, IAB, which is us, do swear that I do from my heart abhor, detest, and abjure as impious and heretical this damnable doctrine and position. And here it is, that princes excommunicated or deprived by the Pope or any authority of the See of Rome may be deposed or murdered by their subjects or any other whatsoever. So this law says, this is saying that I detest and am against the law of the Roman Catholic Church that says that if a prince is excommunicated, that they may be deposed and murdered by their subjects. So it's saying that they detest this law of the Holy See of Rome. So it's speaking basically against the Pope. And so if you were to allow religion to be put into, what was the other one, section 61? If you allowed religion to be put in here, that could be considered to be ill will against or contempt or ridiculed. That would be repugnant to this law here, because we've basically made a law against our own law that we've already got. And then we also have a law that the
And it's
papers,
disarming it.
yes, and the papers, it is inconsistent with the safety and welfare of this Protestant kingdom to be governed by a popish prince or any king or queen or the said lord spiritual and temporal and commons. Do pray that it be enacted that all and every person and persons that is or are or shall be reconciled to with the See or Church of Rome or shall profess the popish religion or shall marry the papist, or should be forever incapable to inherit the crown and or the government of this realm and Ireland and the dominions thereunto belonging. So from time to time shall descend to persons that must be Protestants. So having this law here would be repugnant to the insertion of religion into 131 of the racial disharmony of bringing ill will, hostility, contempt, or ridicule based on their religion. The fact of the matter is, New Zealand Parliament is not even allowed to profess the Popish religion. They're not even allowed to stand in Parliament and promote the Catholic religion. And I think it applies to the Islamic religion and it applies to the Jewish religion. I think it applies to, at that time, there were only 3 religions. And all of those religions come from the Catholic. They're all only just branches of the Catholic. The first book was the Catholic book, then come the Jewish book, then come the Islamic, and then come the Protestant. So the Protestant was the last, and the Protestant said, all of you guys are not going to be allowed in Parliament because you work towards your one world governments with your one world religions. And all the people that didn't want to be put under all of those laws, they said, no, we want to be free to make our own laws. And so that's how we did it. So our parliaments are Protestant parliaments, supposed to be. And so that's why this is so serious, Sharon. Do you have any questions, Sharon? Or comments? Right, who wants to make some comments? Nobody? Brent, not like you to be so quiet.
I do.
Right.
If you're going to do a submission, it pays to cite some legislation, or it pays to cite something that you're going to stick it on, that you're going to rest it on. I can't think of anything at the moment, but when you go through the videos and listen to Simon Connor, he basically gives you a good rundown of what of how to do the submission, and you can do it in writing. You don't have to do it by video. What else was I going to say?
Oh, can I just stop you there while you're thinking about that? So very, very important thing that Maxine's just said there. If you can find a law, any law that shows why they shouldn't do what they're about to do, then you should cite that. And I would say the best one that you're going to come up with is Fitzgerald verse R. Now, this is not the Fitzgerald versus Muldoon. Fitzgerald verse R is a man called Daniel Fitzgerald. That I did talk about the 3 strikes law before, but that is a clear citation where somebody who had done a very, very small crime ended up in the prison for 2 to 3 years, because they said, don't worry about it because it has to go through the Attorney General before it can be prosecuted. And this 131 says exactly the same thing. For anyone to be prosecuted over these speech laws, it has to go through the Attorney General. And the Attorney General apparently will only use it for the most serious cases. And that's exactly what happened in the Fitzgerald case. It was supposed to be used for the most serious cases. It went to the Attorney General. The Attorney General allowed it to go through. And when he allowed it to go through, the judge thought that he had absolutely no power to give a lesser sentence than the 3 strikes sentence of automatic 7 years in prison without parole, or something like that, whatever it was. Because the judge felt that the Attorney General had already ruled that what had happened in that case, the Attorney General, so what had happened in the Fitzgerald case is that the rule was that you would go and make the police, before they were allowed to enter the prosecution into the court, they first had to send a letter to the Attorney General and explain to the Attorney General who they were going to make this prosecution against and what it was going to be about. Now, the Attorney General made the decision that the police, the only thing the Attorney General made the decision on was that, yes, he thought that the man had committed a crime. But he wasn't able to make a decision on that crime, even though it did fall under the 3 strikes, that it was so small that it didn't warrant the sentence of 7 years in prison. It was just such a small thing that he just kissed a girl on the cheek in public, and he had done that 3 times. And that warranted him 7 years in the prison. And when it went to the Attorney General said, yes, it looks like he did commit that crime. But the Attorney General was not able to change the sentence, which was 7 years. He could only say, yes, I think he committed that crime, so therefore it has to go to the court. When it got to the court, the judge saw that the Attorney General has said, yes, it has to go to the court, but because that law automatically has a 7-year sentence, the judge felt, the Attorney General thought that when it got to the court, that the judge would be able to use his common sense and reduce the sentence, and even though prosecute him under the 3 strikes, but reduce the sentence for him. But when it got to the judge said, well, I can't do that because the Attorney General has said, yes, it's a 3 strikes case, and since it's a 3 strikes case, then I have to follow 3 strikes law because that's what you told me to do. Even though I know that it doesn't warrant 7 years in prison. The man sat in prison for 3 years. The case went to the court, and they tried to get a ruling using the 1990 Bill of Rights, but the court said this has got nothing to do with the 1990 Bill of Rights. He said, but he said it did have another thing under some other thing. So the judgment was repealed, and then he got the compensation, $450,000, and then the whole 3 strikes laws was repealed. But so if this same thing happens again, that somebody said, oh, you've got a big nose, and your big nose is because of your race. Or if I said, oh, what the Jewish people come from Israel, and they've all got big noses from Israel, and if that person got offended by their big nose, like I might be, if I got offended by my big nose, then it would depend. The police would have to send that to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General would look at the facts. Did she say that you had a big nose because you came from Israel? Yes. So what, was this person insulted? Yes. But does it warrant a 3-month prison sentence? Well, I would say no. But anyway, the Attorney General's got no choice but to send it to the court. And a person is going to go to prison who's never committed a crime before. In a moment of anger, in a moment of stress, they turn around and said to their co-worker, you've got a fucking big nose, go back to Israel. In that moment, in that moment, that person is liable for 3 months in the prison.
Yeah. Sounds like a bit of a money-making scam
It-
for the
it-
court
it
as well,
certainly
and
is, 'cause
all the lawyers and everything else. Everyone's making money out of this.
It's a $7,000
Big scam.
fine. The person is going to go to the person that they offended, and they're going to say, hey, if I pay you $5,000, will you let this drop? And that person will take the $5,000 because they don't get the $7,000. So
Not just that, you've got a whole heap of people. Well, when I was in corrections, there's a heap of people sitting there on remand for a lot of years. I'm waiting for you're going to watch, these cases are going to go bang, bang, bang to the New Zealand taxpayer. There's a heap of people sitting on remand in our prisons right now who have been in there for a long time, who are possibly under the same, have done sitting there because of the same similar crimes to what Fitzgerald has, and had been sentenced under the similar situation. And not just that, it opens, say, if I wanted to, and I had a whole bunch of people that I could manipulate, I could make them go to court.
You know, it's
And
surprisingly how certain
hate them.
people are able to wind people up, stir the pot enough to force them to resort to say something like that, to the point where you're just like, I'm gonna say it because I can't stop myself, because you've been so rolled up that you just cannot stop yourself. And Yeah, that's exactly right. And then Maxine says the remand. You can be sat in there. The sentence can be 3
Oh, they
months,
are.
but they're sat in there for a year on remand, waiting to get to the court. Now, one of the very dangerous one of the very dangerous ones, I think it's in section 21. There was a section that I read before that if you said it before, either before this act is passed or after this act is passed, which means, here. Now let me see if I read this correctly. Now it says here that each of the grounds specified in subsection 1 is prohibited ground of discrimination for the purposes of this act if it pertains to a person or to a relative or an associate of a person. And so even if you talk against a relative, or if you even talk against an associate of the person, not even talk to the person. So you're sitting there just chatting away to a friend against an associate of theirs, and they go and tell on you. You don't even need to say it to the associate. You've committed a crime. If it either currently exists, or here's the danger, has in the past existed, is expected, and they only have to suspect or assume or to believe or to exist or to have existed by the person alleged to have discriminated. So it's all illegal on all of these, and it can also, if they find any comments that you've made in the past, you can be prosecuted for it. Now, there was a case over here, because we've got this law over here where I am, that if you speak against any monarch in the world, it's a prison sentence. If you speak against them, which I'm not speaking against them. And something happened over here where one of the universities had done a play, and they got a couple of the students to act in the role of I call the Pharaoh, in the role of the Pharaoh and of the Pharaoh's wife. And then those two, they did the play, and then 10 years later, when those two had finished university, that play was deemed to be illegal by an incoming government, and those two were prosecuted, and both of them they accepted the sentence. They were told that if they accepted the sentence, that they would get one count. So if they pled guilty, they would both get one count, and they both got 3 years in the prison. They both went and did the prison. Now, if they had pled not guilty, it's exactly like Maxine said. If they had have pled not guilty, they would have gone in the prison and waited. You wait for up to 5 years to get those cases heard in the court, because no judge wants to deal with those cases, because the very act of giving them a not guilty verdict by the judge can be deemed to be an offence in itself, and he ends up in the prison. So the two children pleaded guilty, and they both went into the prison. They never spoke about it. So that law is in here. So any of you in New Zealand, and I would be included, that has ever spoken against any religion or used your 1688 Bill of Rights, any of you that have done that, that speak against it. Now, Simon O'Connor, I'm a little bit suspicious of him now. Why has he just recently made great announcements to the Jewish community about how wonderful they are and given them the Happy Hanukkah thing, and encouraged New Zealanders to have the 5-pointed candle or whatever it is as a protection of New Zealanders when we're a Protestant country? Why has he suddenly done that? And then he's opened up a cupboard that's been put in Parliament with the Grinch who stole Christmas and the baby in the manger and everything shoved in a small cupboard in the Parliament building. That's what he's done, and he's opened it up to show everyone. Then he's made several announcements in promotion of the Happy Hanukkah. And what's it called, Maxine? I know you're laughing at me. What's it called? Happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah. Can't hear you.
It's
Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy
Hanukkah.
And
Hanukkah.
I'm just laughing at so
Your
'cause
pronunciation.
in his
Sorry.
speech to do with that bill, he said that he was religious. He's Catholic. He's Roman Catholic. He said he spoke to that, and he said as a religious person, he doesn't believe. Actually, what he said and what he said as a religious person, he doesn't believe that he needs to be protected from speech because
Right.
from people, because he says it having a like you say, when you get an argument, you get you can develop things from an opposition to a thing, and he said the same thing. He said, and plus he's not a victim. He doesn't, and that's basically what he said in it. We're not victims. It's healthy to have a disagreement. But I just had to giggle at, he found they must have shoved old Jesus and the manger.
Yeah, they put them in the cupboard. They put Jesus in the cupboard. Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's because you know that Jewish don't believe that he's come, do you?
I don't care what they
They
believe.
don't believe.
I don't care what any of they believe in any of them. I'm just saying that we're a Protestant country, and they should respect it as such, and they shouldn't be putting Mary and Joseph in the cupboard.
No, because they come to this is our country. We've always had Jesus in the manger and whatever.
It doesn't even matter. If you don't believe in those things, we still have Jesus in the manger as part of our culture and our tradition. It's been our traditions for hundreds of years, whether we believe it or not.
But if they can find the person that did that, and this law came to be, maybe they could be prosecuted.
Wow!
Who did it? We need to figure out who shoved Jesus in the cupboard.
Who put Jesus in the cupboard?
Right.
Right.
We'll have to put that in our submission. Like, who put Jesus in the cupboard? Simon's going to have to get on that. Simon's going to have to get. Who the hell put Jesus in?
Who put Jesus in the cupboard? I've got it. It's on his site.
And then they've got to remember, because if that bill goes through, well, we're going to prosecute them, aren't we?
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it. Simon O'Connor on Facebook.
We have to
make sure you
See, look. Here's Simon O'Connor in our Protestant country. Here he is at Christmas time, saying that we should be celebrating the Happy Hanukkah fucking candles. And, no, he is. Look at him.
No, but you don't want to be prosecuted.
Well, they can prosecute me all they like. I'll just, now where is it? Now look, now he's doing the Happy Hanukkah, the very Happy Hanukkah at Christmas time, standing in our Protestant Parliament, making the Happy Hanukkah speech, and then where's he put it in the cup? Then he's even made a Happy Hanukkah letter. Where's our Protestant letter to the Queen? And then I'm back. I'm going to find where they put it in the cupboard. Yeah, this is what he's promoting on his page. This is Simon Connor, that he wants us to fight against the Iranian government now. And there he's doing his... They're in the closet. There's Jesus in the closet, yes. They put and they've replaced Jesus with the Grinch who stole Christmas. This is what Simon Connor has said, that this is what a lovely bit of Christmas spirit, one of my Labour colleagues have put the Christmas spirit into the parliamentary cupboard. Whilst he's promoting Happy Hanukkah at Christmas time, letters to all the people, have a Happy Hanukkah, everyone, and not even a Merry Christmas. Then we've got a wonderful speech for his Happy Hanukkah speech, and then he wants us to celebrate the Happy Hanukkah candles over our Christmas time. Now, how treasonous is that, Simon O'Connor? I was going to be liking you, and now I'm not going to be liking you. And so there's our Christmas in the cupboard.
We'll forgive him now if he finds out who put it. Oh,
He blamed it on the kids, the cowardly bastard. He's blamed it on the kids to top it all off. They got their kids to do this. This is what they're teaching the children in our New Zealand Parliament, to put our Christmas in the cupboard and shut the bloody door. That's what they've got as kids to do. Yeah, this is what they're teaching the children of the parliamentarians of New Zealand. They're teaching them that our Christmas gets relegated to a cupboard with the Grinch while we celebrate the 5 candles of the Hanukkah people. That's a fact. I ain't lying to you. It's right there. Right there. In this one, he wants us to go and fight for the Ukrainian people. They've changed the colour of our flag. Look at that. The colour of our flag is now been deemed. They've got our flag in light blue with yellow. They've made the New Zealand flag into the Ukrainian colours. Now that's treasonous. That is illegal under the flags. We've got a flag law, and that is illegal right there. It's fucking heinous. That's illegal. Oh, I'm getting angry now. That is illegal to do that. Who is that woman? Who is she? Tell me now, Maxine.
I don't know.
Well, she's standing there.
They had Ukrainian, I think it was Prime Minister or whatever leader, speaking to our
Christmas time, of all times, at Christmas time.
He was speaking to our Parliament last week. It came in over
and they have desecrated our flag. They're standing on the steps of our Parliament that was built from the hewn stone of the Canaan Mountains of Nelson, standing on there with a desecrated New Zealand flag. My God, what's going on in that bloody place? What is going on, New Zealand? Yeah.
Bunch of clowns.
Where did I see that picture? Is it gone now? So this is Simon Connor having a field day.
Traitorous day. Or 2.
Oh, look, somebody's posted that up to counteract his treasonous activities against the people of New Zealand. Thank you, Sarah Jane. Where did I just show that picture of the people in Parliament? Right here. Yeah, that's you, Simon O'Connor. What else have you got up there? Harmony in the House with Nazy Chen. Do you know who Nazy Chen is? She has had, there have been many complaints about her strong links to the CCP. Yep, she was involved in certain things. I did a video on her. What else are you up to, Simon? This is to accept.
Your day is coming.
Oh, we did get one way down here. We got one Merry Christmas for our little New Zealand children in one of the schools. They got a Merry Christmas bit of a show which celebrates Maori history and celebrating diversity. And we didn't, it's not even Christmassy. Where's the Christmas? They got some presents. There's no, I mean, it could have been the Pope's crown that they had on their head. There's no baby Jesus. There's nothing. They're corrupting our children. These are Protestant children, everybody. New Zealand, SOS New Zealand. These are Protestant children being corrupted into all of these other things that he's got. That's all I'm going to do on you, Simon O'Connor. So, so that's all what's going on. Got a bit off track there, didn't I? Right, we better stop this video. I'll have to rewatch it when nobody's on to make sure I haven't said anything evil. Otherwise, I won't be able to post it. But I don't think I have. All right, then. I'm only just saying the facts. Those are the facts. That is the fact. And I think that's disrespectful to our Protestant people and our country.
Have you stopped the video?
No, shall I stop the video? Has anybody got anything to
Yeah.
say?
Oh, no, wait till you stop it.